So next speaker, please welcome Mr. Adam Wang, President of Singapore Estate Agent Associations. He will speak on the topic of Singapore residential real estate market. Is it buyers or sellers market?
Okay, very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adam. I'm from the Singapore Estate Agents Association. Okay, first of all, I would like to thank FIABCI Thailand and Dr. Sopam for the invitation for us to come and present our topic today to these so many participants today over here. Give me a couple of minutes to give you a brief introduction of what SEAA is about, Singapore Estate Agents Association. Yeah. So basically, we are a principal member of FIABCI. We are basically the largest industry association for the real estate agents in Singapore, right? So what we do is that we actually represent the a voice for the real estate salesperson in Singapore itself. Our core values, of course, is to make sure that we develop skill sets for our real estate salesperson and ensure that they actually adopt digitalization and also promote the ethics and professionalism within the industry. So we also have we also work with our technical partner, Amicus Singapore, to come up with in-depth data sets for our salespersons to do very deep dive data analysis of what that is required of them to ensure that they can present their work much better. So we run professional development courses and as well as the real estate salesperson's examination courses as well, right? We work very closely with our Singapore real estate regulator, as close as such that we are actually one of the leading, we are one of the co-leads. Okay, right now we are having this project to ensure that we eliminate dummy listings, eliminate what we call duplicate listings, right? To ensure that consumers and as well as home hunters, they have a more seamless experience in terms of their home search. Okay, we also get very involved in things like the digitalization process that right now we are having this industrial transformation map. So by 2025, we want to ensure that the entire real estate transaction become more seamless and much faster. Okay, so that's much of what we are doing at SEAA. So today's topic, I'll be talking about Singapore residential real estate market. So at this moment, is it a buyer's market or whether is it a seller's market? Huh? So let's take a look at what the basis of Singapore's real estate market. First of all, in Singapore, about 72% of the housing are basically public flats, okay, or what we call public housing, or in short, we call it the HDB flat. Okay, so that is where the mass are staying, right? The mass are staying over there. Of course, if you don't want to stay in a HDB flat, or if you are not eligible to stay in a HDB flat, you can always upgrade and purchase a private residential. We are talking about condominiums or even landed houses. Okay, right? The most prized residential property in Singapore are what we call the good class bungalows, right? To get a good class bungalow is a size of at least 15,000 square feet of land. Okay, that is where a lot of Singaporeans are hope to be at. Okay, oops, sorry. So you can see that the price has risen tremendously over the past 2 years, especially. Even for HDB flat, the price has risen to about more than $500 per square feet, and the high value private property can range about $2,800 or even $3,000 per square feet. Yeah. Okay, so this is the price index for the past 10 years. So for the past 10 years pre-COVID-19, because in 2012 there was a major cooling measure introduced, so market price became pretty much stagnant. Okay, but it came 2020 when COVID first hit the shore. So we can see that for the past 8 years, from 2012 to 2020, basically prices have stayed very much stagnant or even they came down slightly. Okay, private property only inched up about 8%, and the public flat has gone down about 5%. But since COVID hit, price has went up by more than 20% to about 28% for the HDB for the public flats, and private property has ran up to about 22 to 26%. Okay, so that's how fast it has been moving these 2 years. So this has become worrying for the government because especially for the public flat, that's where the government doesn't want to see price climbing up that fast, okay, because it affects most of the population. So despite COVID-19, so in 2021 itself, you can see that actually the volume has went up tremendously, right? It did not with the lockdown in the borders did not stop the foreigners from coming in, as well as companies from purchasing residential property, right? We have a good numbers of PRs, permanent residences. They also bought you can see that the numbers in 2021 actually inched up quite a lot. Okay, over here, right? Wonder what about the local Singaporean? Okay, in 2021 itself, local Singaporean purchased about 31,000 units. Okay, 31,000 units. So COVID-19 did not stop them from investing, did not stop them from buying. In fact, it actually spurs them from buying. Okay, it actually resulted in more transaction done. Right, but this year itself, this is based on Q1 to Q3, the first 9 months. Numbers is about 17,000. It should be still much higher than 2020 by end of this year, but I don't think it will go back to the 2021 range. Okay, because in end of 2021 on 16th of December, the government threw in a new round of cooling measures. Right, and with the cooling measures, it did not stop buyers again. So on the October this year, no, in September this year, the government actually introduced another round of cooling measures. So within the span of 9 months, the second round of cooling measures was introduced. So that resulted in lesser transaction compared to last year. Okay, of course, also with the rising interest rate. You can see very much that this is the island-wide unsold stock, unsold stock island-wide. So you can see that since 2019, the unsold stock has been going down very fast, right? Okay, especially when COVID-19 actually is act as a catalyst for these unsold stocks to even go down faster. Okay, whereby buyers are coming into the market and consume up more units. Okay, at this moment as we are speaking, there are only about 15,000 unsold units. Okay, so this is a very, very small number, right? The market can consume this unit at a very fast speed. So recently the government is ramping up on government land sale, as well as ramping up on the launch of the new HDB flats. Right. Just yesterday alone, there was a new HDB launch of about almost 10,000 units. Okay, right. So this one will actually help to ease the undersupply within the market. So resale activity this year has dropped quite a fair bit, likely due to the fact of the latest round of cooling measure in December, plus the rising interest rate. Okay, with the rising interest rate and the macro environment that is very unstable, so actually it caused a slight drop. But you can see that the buying sentiment is still high. So there are still more buyers compared to the number of unit launch per year. Okay, so investment sales remain healthy, right? Despite the fact that I've just mentioned the cooling measure, the rising interest rate, etc. But you can see that, oops, sorry. the investment sales has remained above the 10 years average mark. Okay, so that is also why they also dropped likely case was because there's a lack of number of collective sales this year compared to the last 2 years. Yeah. As mentioned, this is what most Singaporeans would like to have, but not many of us can afford. Okay, just a small number of Singaporeans can well afford this property itself. This is what we call a good class bungalow. Okay, good class bungalow. So in Singapore, the good class bungalows land must be at least 15,000 square feet or more, and they are in designated zoning. It doesn't mean that you have a land of 15,000, you are a good class bungalow, right? Even for such a large property itself, the prices has went up tremendously over the past 2 years. Yesterday, there was another news article that good class bungalow that was launched, that was put up on the market last year, but the seller withdrawn. And this year they put up again with an increase of 55% within 1 year, right? 55% within 1 year. And who are the buyers? It used to be the rich, more senior sort of buyers, but the last 2 years we see a good number of young technopreneurs or young businessmen that actually come into the good class bungalow arena, including the founder of Grab, okay, founder of Grab, the CEO for TikTok as well. They have also invested in a good class bungalow, right? For the public housing, and this is one of our most prized public housing estate projects in Singapore, the Pinnacle at Duxton. The public housing has hit a new time high, and that there in the first 9 months this year, 259 units were sold above the $1 million Singapore dollars mark. So $1 million Singapore dollars is about $750 US. Thereabout, and these are public housing. Okay, public housing. So this worry the government because why? These are supposed to house the masses, right? But when the masses housing become too high, that worries the government. So that was why in September this year they launched they introduced the latest cooling measure to ensure that when you buy a public flat, you are more scrutinized. Okay, more scrutinized in terms of financial prudency, and as well as private property owners are not allowed to sell off their private property and straight away come back into the HDB market. Right. But that being said, although there are 256 units of HDB sold above the $1 million tag, but it only make up less than 1% of the entire resale transaction per year. But that being said, the media would always like to blow up such news. So that was why the government have to come in and make sure that to control it, that the HDB price do not go up to an unaffordable range. So these 2 years, the rental market has gone up tremendously. For the private condo itself and the HDB rental, yes, went up by more than 22 to 28 months. Okay, more than 22 to 28 months. That means since COVID started to now, rental has been going up. Okay, rental has been going up. And you can see from month on month, HDB price has went up about 1.8%. So over 1 year, from last year October to this year's October, from about 130 price index, it went up to above 165. Okay, so that is very fast speed. And as well as for condo, for 1 year, from about 125 went up to about 100 and almost 170. Okay. So basically, the tenants out there are feeling the pinch, right? What happened is that the expatriates are facing up to 70% rise in the housing rental price tag within 1 or 2 years difference, right? Mainly, this is driven by the change in working arrangement. More people are working from home instead of going back to the offices, right? And buyers who are waiting for their new houses to get ready, because in Singapore, we are largely dependent on the foreign construction workers. So because of COVID-19, for the past 2 years, there was a delay in construction completion. So these buyers got no place to stay. They have to end up renting a place for the next 2 years or 3 years, right? And we also see a return in foreign workforce and also the foreign students back into Singapore, right? There is a large increase in the number of single family offices in Singapore, right? That's where they bring about the money with them. Expatriates relocating to Singapore from other financial hubs, especially with the COVID lockdown policy, I think in China and Hong Kong. So we do see an influx in expatriates coming in from Hong Kong and China as well. So rental has actually accelerated, especially in the prime and typical prime. So it has actually went up to above the 10 years average, right? Right now it's sitting at about $4.40 to $5.70 for the prime and the luxurious market, okay? Which is at a very high rental. And the rental yield is on the expansion path. So in this case, if buyers who are buying into the property market in Singapore, they are very likely to expect an even higher rental collection, okay, over the next few years. The good thing is that to ease the price increase, likely we will see that by next year, in 2023, there will be a spike in the number of completion of housing projects, right? So this will help to ease the increase in the rental market and as well as the sales market, right? But it will not bring about a rental decrease. Okay, this will just help to make sure that the rental increase goes more gradual, okay, and not a spike. Oops. Right, and we can see that the foreign employment has come back into Singapore this year alone. There is a huge increase in number of foreigners coming back into our Singapore workforce, because for the past 2 years there was actually a sharp decrease, right? So this incoming of the foreign tenants, these foreigners coming back into the workforce will actually occupy the rental properties, okay? And the number of work pass holders, we also see a good increase this year, right? Likely case, these two should be continue increase from next year as well, as our economy continues to expand. So we expect rental to increase gradually from 2023 all the way to 2026, right? Despite the fact, as I mentioned, there will be a spike in the number of new properties completed next year, but with the economy foundation that we have, and also the fact that Singapore is open economy, we will still see a good number of rental foreigners coming in to fill up these rental houses. So what is the reason for this growth? Okay, what's the reason for growth? Okay, so basically for the past 2 decades, you can see that the household income for the different dwellings has actually went up significantly, especially for the public flat category. Okay, the income has increased drastically. That is to help to push up the home prices as well, right? And we see a strong growth in the ultra high net worth individual. This last year alone, we have about 4,200 of ultra high net worth people. When we say about ultra high net worth, we are talking about this person having at least 30 million USD. Okay, at least 30 million USD. And from 2016 to 2021, for the past 5 years, the increase was 158%. Okay, 158%. And we expect for the next 5 years, the increase to be at 43%, which is very healthy, right? So the basically the single family officers, they are very high net worth. They still prefer to come to Singapore, right? Because with our very low tax rate as well and the strong economy. So this report is by HSBC. We expect that by the year 2030, Singapore will have the highest number of millionaires. Okay, higher number of millionaires as per adult population. So by 2030, it's expected to hit 13.4%. Okay, so 13.4, that means out of every 100, 13 of them are actually millionaires, right? So we opened up our borders much very early, I think early this year. So that helped the rebound in the population, right? The foreign tenants are coming back. Foreign tenants are coming back to Singapore, right? So it's easier for them to work from. So why do foreign buyers prefer to come to Singapore? First of all, of course, is our geographical location. We are basically in the center of the ASEAN region itself, right? From Singapore, you can easily access many of the ASEAN countries, right? And not just that, our aviation, you can reach most part of the world, right? We have a very vibrant economy. Singapore is an open economy, basically, right? We don't have any currency control, etc., right? We have excellent infrastructure, right? We don't really see much of a very bad traffic jams, and also we are building our road networks very fast, and not just that, not just the road network, even our railway network as well, right? Okay, our rule of law, we treat everyone equal, regardless of who you are. So long as you commit a crime, you are being you'll be actually being punished by law. Okay, right? So we also have a very low crime rate. Right? I think many of you know that we have one of a very harsh law in the world. Right? Even if you in Singapore, you cannot even chew on the chewing gum. Okay. We have very well-trained workforce. The government emphasized a lot in reskilling and upskilling our workforce, right? Leaving no workers behind, right? To make sure that the workforce is able to adopt to adaptability and as well as digitalization, right? So once a person is supposed to perform a few person's job, that's in short. So access to world-class healthcare system and healthcare in Singapore, it's very low cost for Singaporeans, right? And even foreigners, they like to come to Singapore for their healthcare, right? In terms of the accessibility to medical to more medical facilities, right? Education system in Singapore, we don't just have the government education system whereby we follow the Cambridge O-level, A-level. We also have a lot of international schools on the IB program as well, right? And Singapore's university are one of the top rankings in the world, right? The National University of Singapore and even the Nanyang University as well, right? Social cultural environment. I think in Singapore you will not see that different ethnicity being outcast, right? So we have the Chinese, we have the Malay, the Indians, and also others, right? We welcome any race or any nationalities, right? So you will not find that you are being left behind. And businesses and investors' preference because of our, first of all, government is very stable. We have not changed any political parties governance since Singapore became independent. Currency is stable. Okay, the currency is stable. It will not just deflate or inflate all of a sudden, right? We have very, very low tax rate. I think the highest we're talking about is about 22%, thereabout, for the high income earner. Business friendly, right? You can register business in Singapore on the same day itself. right? On the same day itself, you can get the business registered. And the influx of the single family offices, right? We draw a lot of fixed asset investments over the past 2 years. You have easy access to funding, right? Be it crypto, even cryptocurrency as well, or funding from over the world, you can access quite easily, right? And there is no capital gain tax. Whatever you make out of your property sale, they will not be taxed, okay, right? And there is no estate duty, right? So what lies ahead? I think, of course, there will be some uncertainty, especially going on around the region and worldwide right now. The geopolitical instability, I think the Ukraine-Russia war, the US-China tension, as well as the political instability, maybe in the neighboring countries, that will actually be some worry. That will cause some worrying. Okay, the China economy is slowing down since they still don't open their borders, right? And the rising of the interest rate. Earlier this year, I think if you are to get a mortgage loan, you can still get it for like less than 2%, about 1% for a mortgage loan for your housing needs. At this moment, the local banks are offering a housing loan of about 4.5%. So the increase, the jump is fast, it's high jump, right? The slew of cooling measures. In Singapore, cooling measures has been introduced since 2009. So it has been 13 years already. And the cooling measures are still there. And they are still just adding on and adding on the more cooling measures, right? And they still cannot bring down the market, right? The rising property tax from next year onwards until 2024, property tax will be rising. Then this will actually cause some retail investors to maybe some retail investors to take a step back. So recently, we saw that in Q3 itself, the number of transactions has went down tremendously. It could be partly due to the fact that because on the September, there was a new cooling measure, and previous month there was we have this Chinese ghost month, so that will also bring down the number of transactions, right? But going ahead, as I mentioned, because of the rising interest rate, that is one of the more crucial factor that will actually stop buyers from coming onto the market itself. So these are the different type of cooling measures that was introduced over the years, including additional stamp duties, right? So on top of your normal stamp duties, you have to pay additional stamp duties. We even limit the amount of loan that you can take, okay, the percentage of loan that you can take, right? This is one of the ways that we try to control the rise, right? We introduce different mortgage servicing ratio, total debt servicing ratio. You're not supposed to have a total debt of more than 55% of your income thereabout. We even have seller stamp duty. If you sell within the first 3 years, right, you will be taxed. Okay, you have to pay a duty on that. And in Singapore, the duties are not cheap. Okay, duties are not cheap, right? The introduction, the rise in the property tax. If you can see from this table, this is the current property tax rate. This is from next year. From the year after, you'll go to as high as 36%. 36% if you are collecting a annual rent of above 60,000. So I did a simple calculation the other day. If you put up your property for rent as $10,000, you pay this X amount of property tax. By 2024, 2 years later, your property tax is going to be double. So it's almost close to 3 months of your rental. That is only on the property tax only. So what are the factors that are driving the market towards the seller? Okay, so first of all, for the past 2 years, there was delay in construction, right? As I mentioned earlier, delay in construction due to COVID lockdown. Higher cost of construction because the laborers, the construction laborers are not coming back yet. There is a labor crunch. right? There's a surprise squeeze, right? Because as I see, the unsold inventory is going down, but we are not replenishing the unsold unit fast enough. Where are the new projects and where are the new homes coming, right? And the demand drive, right? There's still a very strong demand drive, and there is always this buying frenzy because of herd mentality. Okay, you know what's herd mentality, right? When I see someone buy, I also want to buy. Okay, this is, I think, very Singaporean. Okay, very Singaporean. So what about factors that's driving the market towards the buyer? I think we can see from the Q3 data, the Q3 data. Okay, there seems to be some factors that are driving the market towards buyer. But how long will it last? We won't know. Okay, first of all, because construction delay is improving, right? The workers are coming back. Interest rate is rising. As I said, earlier this year was less than 2%. Now it's 4.5%. Right? The government is ramping up on government land sales. Right? They're building more public flats. Yesterday, 10,000 was introduced. 10,000 new flats were introduced. And there's a sharp increase in property tax for non-owner occupied. Right? That may turn away some of the retail investors. Okay, so in summary, basically, the Singapore residential market is driven by demand. Demand is still very high. I've talked to many people out there. They still want to buy. Okay, it's just that now because of the tax regime, the stamp duties, because of the interest rate, that is what's maybe stopping some of them. Right? Supply crunch. Supply is dwindling down. Hopefully, the government can push in more land sales. Rent has been going upwards. Steadily for the past 2 years. We will know how gradual will it be in the next 2 years to 3 years to come. Capital value is still very good in Singapore. If you so far, why people would like to put in their money in the property market in Singapore is that they see that the property value will grow up. Okay, right? Rental yield is growing up steadily. In short, so what are some of the short-term drivers? Okay, so businesses will start to rehire, right? And that at the same time, the locals are waiting for their new flats. So that will contribute to the leasing market, right? And the surge in the new completion from projects that were being delayed previously by COVID-19, likely they will help to moderate the upward pressure on the rental. And with the soaring interest rate, coupled by the September 2022 cooling measure, is likely to result in a greater caution among buyers, keeping the capital value growth at a moderate rate. So medium drivers will include a new completion could moderate and drop to a more measured levels, keeping vacancy stable and supporting healthy and rent growth. Interest rates are projected to ease, okay, fostering a growth in buyer demand and supporting a more moderate price increase alongside improved economy performance. That's all for my sharing. Thank you very much, everyone. If you have any question for me, I'll be out there later. Thank you.